The exit suit is a way of supporting the dynamic moving human body whilst in VR. Walk. Swim. Fly. Or dive.
We wanted the figurehead of Exit Suit to be a virtual version of my boss, William. Initially, we tried photogrammetry and worked with an animator to make a full body and facial rig with the scan in Blender. Unfortunately, this was not compatible with LiveLink or Steam VR, so we couldn't get motion capture working with it. To work with LiveLink, faces need the correct amount of blend shapes. There are some paid software that can add these to your mesh, however we decided to go with Metahuman Creator in the end, as it generated a compatible rig automatically. The final Metahuman had a decent likeness to William, and seeing as the rig was so nicely set up, we decided to go ahead with it. Our aim was to create a VR full body and facial motion capture system that worked in real time in the Unreal Engine. This was to be used for VR gameplay in the suit and for virtual production. We started off retargeting the UE4 mannequin animation blueprint to a metahuman skeleton. Over the months, this developed into a more advanced full-body IK system that used Valve knuckles. In the video, you can see that the system had foot IK, which reacted to the distance of the character from the floor, so it bended its legs when necessary. However, when generating animations from these recordings, they weren't very accurate, and the legs jumped all over the place because of the lack of tracking. Moreover, the system did not support facial motion capture or finger tracking, which was essential for a virtual production film. I found a great plugin from Mega Steakman on YouTube, which had a very advanced blueprint system that allowed for full-body VR mocap for the metahuman with the option of live-link face and finger tracking. We created a custom face rig that kept my phone still when we were recording. The results from this plugin were much better. We went up to 9 trackers, which was perfect for the short films we had to make to present the suit. Here are some of the results. A central element of my work on Exit Suit has been in demonstrating its force feedback abilities. Although the force feedback system is still only working in Unity, I was able to create several interactive scenes which will later be integrated with the force feedback system. I created a new character blueprint in Unreal and attached the metahuman hand skeletal meshes to each motion controller. I then used these positions to parent 2 physics constraints, one for each hand. This allowed the user to interact with skeletal meshes assets in the scene. The bricks that you see were created by modifying the pickup cube blueprint in the Unreal VR default scene. We also wanted the player to be able to navigate their virtual world in novel ways. I created a flight system for the character by retargeting a Mixamo flight animation onto the metahuman skeleton. Admittedly, skeleton retargeting can be quite complex, and I was unable to fix a problem with the head bone, which seemed to move independently from the rest of the skeleton. Finally, I integrated my interactive character blueprint and my flight system to the VR mocap plugin, allowing the user to control their flight directly from VR. Environmental design was another area I focused on during my time at Exit Suit. When I started, I was new to Unreal, so spent the first few weeks getting accustomed to using Megascans, Quixel Bridge, and Quixel Mixer, which can be used to make custom textures. Here are some of the results from my initial environmental experimentation. The first major environment I worked on was recreating the office we work in. I did my modelling in Blender and then later combined various Quixel assets and 3D CAD models of the suit to create the final environment in Unreal. This was a 1-to-1 scale with real life, so it led to some very surreal moments when entering VR. I also used Google Earth data to create a 3D model of Borough in London, which we later brought into an Arctic environment in Unreal. At some point in the future, I want to work with Unreal 5's Nanite system to create the whole of London in Unreal. At Exit Suit, we are keen to recreate nature faithfully as a means of immersing the user in VR. This creation is both from an aesthetic standpoint, but also in terms of physics and interactions. For our virtual production recently, I did some set dressing in a Maui forest, making use of a leaf particle system, various foliage types, and a submerged car wreck. After recording the raw motion capture, there is always work to do with cleaning up the animation. I used the Sequencer Curves tool to play around with the interpolation between different keyframes of the Metahuman. As we develop the Exit Suit as a tool for virtual production, I also want to start using the Unreal Remote app, which allows you to control a virtual camera's position directly from your phone. In the future, I plan to combine my research into BCIs with the virtual production and motion capture research I've been doing at Exit Suit. I am currently working on a system that uses blueprints to link a person's EEG expression data with Unreal, allowing them to control the facial animation of a metahuman in real time. This facial animation system can be paired with the motion capture system I have been using at Exit Suit, which will improve our VP workflow, allowing us to capture facial animation even when the user is wearing a VR headset. I plan to work with additive animation, blend trees, and C++ to create more complex facial expressions and eventually build a system for animating the body and individual limbs using the emotive mental commands. The final step is to link different performance metrics to a procedural material on the metahuman's clothing, which will display the user's real-time emotional state.